let's take a look at 5 guys that are on the RFA market. And here are contract projections from our friends at AFP Analytics. And let's look at some serious pieces of business that need to get done around the league for these teams. When you look at this board of Trevor Zegras, Vince Dunn, Troy Terry, Evan Bouchard, and Keandre Miller, which one of these negotiations intrigues you the most?
Well, it's Trevor Zegras because I'm not sure if he's a Pat Verbeek style player. Now, his skill is incredible. He's scored. He's put up points. Has he done much more than highlight reel material when you look at his general impact on a game? There's still more ceiling to it. So does Verbeek want to commit 8 years to Trevor Zegras? I'm very curious about that if it's not a short-term deal, and also knowing that more are coming. So I'm not sure how that one plays out. And I've also really got my eye on the Vince Dunn contract that's coming, because I think that the projection at 6.5 is probably a little bit shy when you look at comparables. It's just
coming off of a 60-point season.
Right, and it's just that he is a little bit older. He had a huge year. It was 1 year. Can he replicate it? So I think Dunn is likely to be in the 7s. I agree. Think, especially with a Shabbat being at 8 times 8, it's kind of similar. So those are the 2 for me. Frank, you've got some good ones on here, though, man. Give me yours.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if you see some of these guys, Zegras, Terry, you look at the bridge deals further down, the Oilers, I think, and Rangers would love to get these guys locked up to longer term deals.
Yeah,
because I think it's always the best thing for the team is to buy as many years as you can, and especially while the cap is where it is. But does one of these guys, maybe Terry or Zegras or someone specifically in Anaheim where they need to see a rebuild come to life, do they say, I'm going to sign a bridge deal, a 2-year, a 3-year deal that puts a little bit of security in my pocket, but I really want to cash in later when the cap's going up? Do we start to see more players go that route as opposed to trying to sign for as much security as they can?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance of that. And, I mean, even though Gavrikov was older as a UFA, these RFAs are in that boat where if you get 2 years down, knowing escrow is going to be going away and paid off here soon, and the cap's going to rise that much, 2 or 3 year deal may be a good thing. But then they got to start buying UFA years as well, right? So, yeah, if I'm a team, if I'm the Oilers, I want to lock Bouchard up as long as I can, because I don't want to take
afford it. I don't think they can afford to right now.
Yeah. That's the hard part. Like, this guy's supposed to be your linchpin, right? I think with Keandre Miller with the Rangers, it's a little easier because you still haven't seen the peak of his game, I don't think.
Yeah. So one quick thing on the RFA front before we move on to the new top 50 free agents board, which comes out shortly here this afternoon on dailyfaceoff.com. I wanted to highlight one other lowercase RFA that I believe is also going to be added to our next trade targets board, and that is Will Borgen. We mentioned Vince Dunn from the Kraken, but what about Will Borgen, a guy that was at $900K, and I think depending on the term of his next deal is somewhere between $275 and $325 on an AAV. There's been, I think, a lot of interest in Will Borgen, that if the Kraken decide that they don't want to pay him and they don't potentially want to go down the ARB path, that Borgen is someone that you could see traded from Seattle as someone that has generated some significant interest. Look, a decent player. The Kraken need to decide who they want to pay and who they don't. Mm-hmm. And, for some guys that might be playing third pair minutes, they might have some value elsewhere where they could be playing higher in the lineup. So that's one name to keep an eye on. Let's tackle those top 50 free agents. New board, as mentioned, up on dailyfaceoff.com this afternoon. And really not a lot of significant change when it comes to the top 10. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the new name on the board, and I slotted him at 10, Mike, because I think there's been some real interest from teams that, since he was already bought out by the Vancouver Canucks, can contact his camp and begin to talk contract and what that might look like. Can't sign until July 1st, but he's a player that maybe the second scoop on this double dip is going to be equally as tasty, getting paid for the buyout, but then also, what would you do if you were in this spot? Would you take some term and security, or would you go about taking a 1-year short money deal to maybe go and try play for a contender, bet on yourself, have a playoff run, and see if you can cash in even bigger next summer when the cap goes up?
Yeah, I think I'd go the 1 year route. And that's weird for me because I'm usually really risk averse, Frank. But I think Ekman-Larsson, first off, he's got plenty of money. Okay. Like it is part of it. You always want to be able to make more and build generational wealth. But I think a 1 year deal could really be beneficial to him. 2 or 3 years, I mean, he could end up getting cast off to a healthy scratch. If he goes to on a 1 year deal, plays really well, he's going to re up his value and reestablish at a proper cap hit. So I'd go 1 year on him. I've also looked at your top 50 here. I wonder about the center market, Frank. JT Compher is the most attractive centerman on the market, 28 years old, but it looks like the trade route might be better for some teams. So I wonder if that might even depress Compher's value if teams could go out and trade for somebody. So I just find that very interesting with the dearth of centermen. You basically have Compher, and then you have Ryan O'Reilly, who's older, on the UFA market. So that's a piece that I have my eye on.
I get where you're at, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the Avs do. Like, we were talking about potential destinations for Elias Lindholm the other day, and I was like, why didn't anyone mention Colorado? Like, how dumb. Like, we know they're looking for one of those types of players. He really feels like he could be someone that fits. Real quickly, Kevin Weeks reporting that the New Jersey Devils are closing in on a new deal, a 3-year deal with the Hall of Famer, Eric Haula. Makes sense to me coming off of a rejuvenated year, 41 points for the Devils. And I love him in the playoffs. He's one of those guys that finds a way to elevate when it matters most. So working on some details of what that 3-year deal might look like for Eric Haula. But you'll start to see some more players falling off the board, I think, in our top 50. Haula was in that 25 range as we get closer to next Saturday when free agency opens at 12 noon.